Good afternoon. I
Good.
am honored to sit here today with the wonderful author of Mama Said Moments 10 Things to Remember When Life Gets Hard, Miss Pamela Harris. Good afternoon. How are you
Good
today?
afternoon. How are you?
I am doing well. I'm doing well. I'm thanking you for giving me a moment with you to be able to talk about this wonderful book that I had an opportunity to read. And so, before we get fully into it, I just want to let you know who Pamela Harris is. She was born and raised in Birmingham, Alabama, and she's worked in customer service for over 18 years, providing exceptional five-star service. She's always been a good helper and very concise with details. She finished her Bachelor of Science degree at an HBCU, Miles College. Hey.
Yes.
She graduated focusing on mental health. She is a mother of two and engaged to the love of her life, Michael. She has a passion for creating and writing and making memorable lifetime moments. Once again, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm so honored to be here. Thank you.
Good. I'm glad you're with me. Now, what I will say is that when I read this book, I said to myself, I definitely have to do an interview. The beginning of the book captured my attention so deeply to make me continue to flip through these pages, and it was a huge page turner. I felt like I was with you. So there was a very deep connection there just for me as a reader, with you as an author, as if you were there having that conversation with me. What inspired you to write this book? I'm gonna say it moments.
Now, Mama said moments. Now, it came from the most painful place ever. And so, what inspired me to write this book was my mother passed, and it was so unexpected. So this pain became so unbearable that I really didn't know how to deal. And so I had to learn that grief is hard. And so with writing this book, it helped me to remember some of these life lessons my mom always tried to teach me that she was actually right. So whew, she taught me all of these things. And so, as you go through grief, you go see a counselor, grief counselor. And so I had to, reach out, get some help. And what she taught me when I was in counseling was that wealth was just not money, it was knowledge and wisdom. And so I realized my mom had left me all of these things to help me to get through life. And so, hey, this is exactly where this moment or this book came from.
Isn't it something how, as we grow up as children and we have these conversations with our mother, and I mean, at that time, we really don't understand the purpose of why they're saying the things they're saying, and it can kind of be a bit annoying. But then when we become adults, we think back on those conversations. And I mean, it seems like you guys had some really serious conversations, and she left you with a lot of wisdom prior
Exactly.
to her transition.
She did. She did. She did.
So when you open this book, you begin with an apology. I would like you to kind of tell the audience a bit about that apology, just a snippet, because they
Okay.
need to go purchase this book to get the details in depth. But what was the reason for the apology and what made you start your book in that way?
Well, I did start my book with an apology. That apology came to my only sibling, which is my sister. So in the first chapter, I talk about my sister. And so when I did this, you know, it's just going back. And so in the book, I take you through these moments in life. And this first moment was with my sister. And so with that, she forgave me. And forgiveness is, a key thing with this whole book is really dealing with healing and forgiveness. So my mom, she always taught us growing up, because it's just me and my sister, that we always had to be there for each other. And when she left, oh, that's one thing we had to do, is be there for each other. So I do believe that God gives us people that help us along this journey. And so this one moment of anger and pride could have been so different. So if you get this book, I'm telling you, you would definitely know what I'm talking about,
Mm.
because hey, I do something that to other may seem unimaginable. And so, yes, go get it, but I'll let you know what happened so that when it'll entice you to, oh, wait a minute, let me see. But it's a moment where growing up, when I was in middle school, I had this encounter where me and my sister fell out and I ended up shooting her. And she almost didn't make it. So, yes, that is something that is really big. And so I've become big on apologizing. I'm not too big that I can't apologize when I'm wrong. And so that in itself is a lesson that we can all learn from, because we have those moments.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that when you have a sibling, you always have moments where you definitely get into it, and sometimes you can get really angry, and potentially your anger or imagination of anger could drive you to that point where you would do something to that extreme. So as you go get the book, it'll be up to you to really know and understand how Pam and her family made it through that crisis of her sister being hospitalized based on that act. Anger can be something else. And if you allow it to take control of you, there can be mistakes that will be made that you can never come back from. So what would you say your major mind struggle has been that you've had to conquer?
I'll say a lot doing this book. Some or the thing that I definitely, it took me some time to get over or to get, is that people would always be judging me. Or when they read this book, they'll say, "Oh, she's a horrible daughter." And I was like, "Oh my God, I don't want to write that." But then I kept saying, "Pam, people are going to be people. People are going to say what they want to say. They're going to think what they want to think. But the truth is the truth, and it does not need any help standing on its own." So then it helped me to say, "Pam, keep writing, because there's somebody that identifies like you. And so help them to see that, hey, if you got out, they can too." And so it's about changing how you see things. And so that you're able to reveal that other side. And so my whole purpose now is just, hey, there's other ways of thinking about things. And so after getting over that, it was like, okay, let me write it. Let me help somebody else. Let me be somebody else instructional manual.
Mm. You did provide some really good insight to help. And I mean, I feel that this book crosses over to so many demographics because a lot of the experience that you talk about in the book, it definitely does not make it where I, even myself as a reader, could say I could never have seen myself going through that or experiencing that because it was really as life came, you just had to navigate through it and you were able to hold on to those mama said moments to help you navigate through. What
Yes.
made you take such a transparent approach in the book to expose some things and tell your story and testimony the way that you did?
Well, I had to learn that being transparent, it was not a weakness. It's your strength
Mhm.
because people need to see real. People are very real. So these are real life situations. And so I just needed people to see my heart. I was always say that I was this hard-headed, think she know it all little girl. But then as I thought about it and I grew, I understand I was just misunderstood and that I was just trying to figure out things in life all by myself without listening to people that were trying to guide me. So, and that's a lot of things that is happening now with a lot of our teens and young adults that are struggling just to find out who they are. And so when I wrote this book, I just said, hey, be as transparent so that people can see that, hey, you can be unapologetically just you and just be sincere. And it will correspond, it'll relate, it'll touch that way.
Yeah, to just kind of tap on a few experiences. One that stood out to me was how you shared about the tornado and surviving that. That experience, and to know that, as you said, God really covered you when he sent your daughter in there to say, hey, get up. And in that moment, you only had a matter of seconds, and yet everyone's life was spared as you had to move to rebuild. And I'm glad that that experience was in there, especially for someone that may be going through that right now. I mean,
Yeah.
in that moment, you talk about loss, completely losing everything. What did that moment feel like for you?
Oh, the when you're going through it, it's like, oh, I ain't gonna make it, I ain't gonna make it. But then, that mama said moment, I could always remember my mom talked about praying and she always talked to us this talked about the Bible. And so I could always remember growing up, um, the Bible story about as Jesus was sleeping, he had these disciples on the ship and they kept waking him up because of the storm. So my mom would always say that we could pray. And so in this moment, when the house was just shaking, when I say it sounded like a train was coming through, and then water started pouring in. So, me, my first thing, I can't swim. I'm gonna drown. But then, as it just made the mother in me when my daughter bust out and said, Mom, are we going to die? And I just said, Kia, if the good Lord's willing, we ain't. And so then at that moment, as I was holding her hand and holding my son, I just started to pray. And I was like, God, you got to hold us together. You said you was going to come and save us. And so when that sound went away, I was so happy and so amazed that we made it through. Because as we got outside the house and looking around at everybody, the next door neighbor, house completely gone. And I was like, oh my God, it was so much devastation. So even though I lost everything, I I made it out. My fiance at the time made it out. my children made it out. So I was like, ooh, it could have been worse.
Yeah. Well, I definitely advise you to go pick up this book once again. If you're going through some struggles where you're trying to figure out, am I going to make it out of this? Is there a rainbow at the end of this experience? Just know that this book is definitely a tool of encouragement and motivation to help you continue to push through. Now, for you, what is your overall goal for this book?
Okay. Mama said moments, and I will continue to keep saying it. This book is so transformational. It talks about healing and forgiveness. First, you have to forgive yourself. And then, as you walk through this healing transformation, you'll definitely see it helps transfer you because it's not about what happens to you, it's about making it to the other side and looking at things differently. So, this book, Mama Said Moments, is going to help you. It's going to help you to understand and look at life totally different. Because when you finish reading this book, I want you to been have or would have reframed your mind so that you'll look at what somebody said to you in a different light, that maybe what they're saying, they might just have a point. Because when you look at it, 9 times out of 10, I bet you'll agree with what they were saying, that it was so true. And that you also, I want people to learn to not or to stop having to lose something or somebody to see what value that they held. Because sometimes some things you can't get back. And so what quote that stood out to me the most, and it's in the very front of my book, Dr. or Mr. Ken Sham is his name, it's a German name. A smart person learns from his mistake, but a truly wise person learns from others. So why would you have to buy a lesson when you can clearly see somebody else has walked through it? So hey, get it. Let me help you. Let me help you walk through life.
And let me also let you know that she made a journal that goes with it. Now, what was the purpose of the journal that goes with the actual read?
Okay. Now the journal, that journal dives deeper into scriptures, the scriptures that I talk about in the book. Now, in the back of the book, it does have all these scriptures that helped me write this book. And a lot of people say, how did you remember all of that? Well, good question. My dad, growing up, my mom, she would always quote the book or quote the Bible. She couldn't really tell you the scriptures, but my dad, he's a deacon at church. And what was so funny to me growing up, my mom would be talking about a scripture and she'd be like, I know it's in the Bible, it's in, and then she'll be talking about it, and my dad will bust out and say, oh, that's Ecclesiastic. And I was like, how do you know that? And stuff like that. So doing this writing, I asked my dad, I started doing like my mom, hey dad, mom will talk about this. And he told me the scriptures. So in this journal, it just gives you that reflect the time to reflect on your own life experiences. What do you think about it? It's that time where you can totally be honest with yourself. Because guess what? Only you reading it. So when you go back, help yourself. Because in all that understanding, all that reading, get understanding. So it's a point where you can grow, because in life, that's what it's about, growing, being the best version of yourself.
One of the lessons I've learned too is that there's so much power in writing. And when you take a moment to really journal, there are ways, that's a way of releasing, and it is also a way of helping you grow. It's a way of kind of just leaving it on that paper. And then, of course, if there are prayers of faith that you write down, then it's another way to kind of leave it on the paper and then exercise your faith that those things will come forward. So I do feel that the journal is a great tool to use with this book for you if you're planning to try to move forward and move past some things that have happened in your life where you're really not sure as to which way to navigate through or to move past it. Forgiveness is one of the big things that she talks about in this book. And forgiveness is a very powerful tool, and it can be something that can hinder you as well if you fail to forgive. But Pamela lets us know that when you make a decision to forgive in this book, she tells you that that's a powerful thing that helps her move forward a lot in life as she exercised her faith in forgiveness. So now what would you say to your target audience that's for 2023 and how you want mama said moments to impact their lives?
Okay. I would definitely say Mama Said Moments. It has a lot of great messages. It has a lot that you can take away from it. I would say one of the things um, that you're wanting to get from it, my most important thing is stop having to lose people and things to learn what value that they held. Because, oh, some stuff and some people are irreplaceable. You can't go back. Life don't give you redos. You just can't. Another takeaway as you read this book, I guarantee you, you're going to say, oh, she always wanted somebody to love her. And that is true. My through the whole book until now, until I wrote or my mom passed, I could see me always wanting people to pick me, love me. Well, guess what? The first thing, you can't give to nobody else. You can't pour to nobody else without pouring to yourself. So the first thing in life is love thyself. Love yourself, self-love. And so that is very, very, very important. And I guarantee you, you'll see it. Read all the stories. You'll definitely be able to see that. And then thirdly, forgiveness. Forgiveness is not for them. It is for you.
For you.
And it's very big, 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 big.
Well, good. Now, how do we find your book?
Okay. You can definitely get Mama Said Moments. You can check me out at my website, www.comebackpam.com. And that's COMBACPAM.com. And you can also get it on Amazon. Now, I am in the process of recreating the website because I am on Instagram, and you can look me up, join. It's Mama Said Moments. And so with me recreating the website, why not name it Mama Said Moments? So as of March the 1st, or yeah, by March the 1st, I'm looking at recreating the website, which is going to be called, or it will be, www.mamasaidmoments.com.
Okay, so that's for anyone that may view this prior to March 1st, but then of course after March 1st, that website will be launched and then you will be able to find her book there. Can you explain to the audience, Come Back Pam? What is that and what does the name represent?
I would say, come back, Pam. I realize that I have all these experience and have gone through so much in life. But I've always tell people that I've come back because I've always had this strong faith that God has allowed me to come back and come through a lot of things. And so now I feel like I'm the instruction manual that's going to help you. So I used to hide all the stuff that I've been through. Not no more. Not no more. Let's talk about it. So hey, let me help you.
You come back. Well, as we conclude, I just want to say, is there anything else you would like to say to the audience before we sign off?
I would say in conclusion that I have been called to help the misunderstood that dealt whether it's with juvenile detention, teen pregnancies, adolescents, and those young adults that struggle with authority. I know so well about these areas. And sadly to say, it's because I sat in those spaces. So, what better way to learn than from somebody that has walked through it? And so, yes, that is my mission, that is my journey. And as I wrote this book, and I'm working on my next book, it's telling about, just sowing this seed. Whether you believe me or not, just keep reading. It's a seed. Because guess what? When you get in those rough situations, it comes all pouring back to you. So, my mom, I was the fish my mom caught. And so now it's time for me to fish. So, hey, let's go. I won't be silent.
Well, I thank you again for taking a minute to sit with me. I feel that after reading this one, which I can't wait on the next book, you are truly an example of a miracle and how God can take control when you allow him to, and you overcome many things in life. The things that were put in this book to show how you overcome, including finding the love of your life and how you just rejected him in the beginning. It said, I don't want to talk to you, but you had a guard up and a wall for protection, which only made sense as you explained it in the beginning of your life story to see why you were so guarded, but then eventually he had the wisdom from God on how to pull you in as he was fishing and reeled you in to be able to love you the way that you needed to be loved. So I think that that was a great way to explain that to the reader as well to help give them some faith on if they are truly hoping one day to sincerely love someone or be with someone that will love them the way that they need to be loved. You were able to encourage and inspire them in that way. I want to encourage you to go pick up this book. Like she said, you can get it on our website and you're welcome to order it through Amazon. Mama said moments, 10 things to remember when life gets hard. As life gets hard, you can pick this book up and it'll help you navigate through. Thank you so much, Pamela, again for sitting with me. This has been a pleasure to talk to you about this book, and I'm looking forward to the next one. So I can read that one and we can talk about that one too.
All right. Thank you for having
All
me. I
right,
greatly appreciate it.
oh no, absolutely. You enjoy the rest of your day, okay?
You do the same.
All right, until next time.